Hi, sixth graders, it's Mrs. Henderson. Sorry, I just shook the desk. This is my first YouTube video, and it's not really going to be a video of me, it's going to be a video of Anne Frank, because we have some reading to get caught up on. So if you are a Jaguar, we're going to start on page 125. We're going to start on Monday, December 27th, 1943. Okay? And I'll probably stop it after 2 entries to give you guys a break, and then you can come back into it. Dear Kitty, on Friday evening, for the first time in my life, I received something for Christmas. Coupuis, Crawler, and the girls had prepared a lovely surprise again. Meep has made a lovely Christmas cake on which was written, Peace, 1944. Ellie had provided a pound of sweet biscuits of pre-war quality. For Peter, Margot, and me, a bottle of yogurt and a bottle of beer for each of the grown-ups. Everything was so nicely done up, and there were pictures stuck on different packages. Otherwise, Christmas passed quickly for us. Yours, Anne. It's significant that she got a Christmas present because remember, she's Jewish, so they didn't celebrate that holiday. And the peace, 1944, was a hope that the war would end the following year. Wednesday, 29 December, 1943. Dear Kitty, I was very unhappy again last evening. Granny and Lise came into my mind. Granny, oh darling Granny, how little we understood of what she suffered, or how sweet she was. And besides all this, she knew a terrible secret which she carefully kept to herself the whole time. How faithful and good Granny always was. She would never have let one of us down, whatever it was. However naughty I had been, Granny always stuck up for me. Granny, did you love me, or didn't you understand me either? I don't know. No one ever talked about themselves to Granny. How lonely Granny must have been. How lonely in spite of us. A person can be lonely even if he is loved by many people, because he is still not the one and only to anyone. And that can be an example of paradox that we talked about last week. And Lise, is she still alive? Now remember, if you've forgotten, Lise is her friend that she mentioned in the beginning of the book. She's the one that Anne has a vision of seeing hungry and in tattered clothing, possibly foreshadowing of seeing her in the concentration camp. And Lise, is she still alive? What is she doing? Oh God, protect her and bring her back to us. Lise, I see in you all the time what my lot might have been. I keep seeing myself in your place. Why then should I often be unhappy over what happens here? Shouldn't I always be glad, contented, and happy? Except when I think about her and her companions in distress. I am selfish and cowardly. Why do I always dream and think of the most terrible things? My fear makes me want to scream out loud sometimes. Because still, in spite of everything, I have not enough faith in God. He has given me so much, which I certainly do not deserve, and I still do so much that is wrong every day. If you think of your fellow creatures, then you only want to cry. You could really cry the whole day long. The only thing to do is pray that God will perform a miracle and save some of them. And I hope that I am doing that enough. Yours, Anne. I underlined this section because even though she's Jewish, she believes in God. She has been taught about God probably her whole life. So she understands the basic principle of serving him and of believing in him and having a faith. This just reminds me of us. God has given us so much, even right now in the time that we're going through. We don't deserve it, and we still do wrong every day. But the only thing to do is to pray to God. Thought that was really neat and really timely. The next entry, and I'm sorry I picked a wobbly desk. I will fix that next time. Our next entry is Sunday, the 2nd of January, 1944. So this is after the New Year. Dear Kitty, this morning when I had nothing to do, I turned over some of the pages of my diary, and several times I came across letters dealing with the subject mummy in such a hot-headed way that I was quite shocked and asked myself, Anne, is it really you who mentioned hate? Oh, Anne, how could you? I remained sitting with the open page in my hand and thought about it and how it came about that I should have been so brimful of rage and really so filled with such a thing as hate that I had to confide it all in you. There's that word confide again. I have been trying to understand the Anne of a year ago and to excuse her because my conscience isn't clear as long as I leave you with these accusations without being able to explain, on looking back, how it happened. I suffer now, and suffered then, from moods which kept my head under water, so to speak, and only allowed me to see the thing subjectively without enabling me to consider quietly the words of the other side, and to answer them as the words of one whom I, with my hot-headed temperament, had offended or made unhappy. There are some good vocab words here if you haven't chosen yours yet. We have hot-headed, we have temperament, subjectively, those would be good words. Brimful. So Anne is looking back and reading some of her old work, and it really surprises her. I underline the word hate. For me, it's two reasons. One, she feels guilty for having any bad feelings because of what her classmates are going through. How could she have felt that way when she's safe? But also, this is how World War II started. Hitler hated the Jews, and that's why he focused on them. So I think that might be part of what she's saying. How could she have hate? Again, I apologize about this desk, you guys. I hid myself within myself. I only considered myself and quietly wrote down all my joys, sorrows, and contempt in my diary. This diary is of great value to me because it has become a book of memoirs in many places, but on a good many pages I could certainly put past and done with. So this diary, obviously we know, is very important to her, but it holds memories for her. It shows who she was in the past, even though it was only a year ago, but she has grown so incredibly much in that year. And here's an example of how she's changed. I used to be furious with Mummy, and still am sometimes. It's true that she doesn't understand me, but I don't understand her either. She did love me very much, and she was tender. But as she landed in so many unpleasant situations through me, and was nervous and irritable because of other worries and difficulties, it is certainly understandable that she snapped at me. I took it much too seriously, was offended, and was rude and aggravating to Mummy, which in turn made her unhappy. So it was really a matter of unpleasantness and misery rebounding all the time. It wasn't nice for either of us, but it is passing. So she sees her part in this. She understands that she was too sensitive, that she was offended too quickly, and she in turn made things unhappy for her mom. That's a really important area of growth for her. I just didn't want to see all this and pitied myself very much. But that, too, is understandable. These violent outbursts on paper were only giving to vent anger, which in a normal life could have been worked off by stamping my feet a couple of times in a locked room or calling Mummy names behind her back. So she realizes that she didn't want to see the way that she was acting. But she kind of gives herself some grace. They were going through a difficult situation. I like this part, and obviously I underlined it. The period when I caused Mummy to shed tears is over. I have grown wiser, and Mummy's nerves are not so much on edge. I usually keep my mouth shut if I get annoyed. And so does she, so we appear to get on much better together. I can't really love Mummy in a dependent childlike way. I just don't have that feeling. I soothe my conscience now with the thought that it is better for hard words to be on paper than Mummy should carry them in her heart. So she still doesn't have those warm and fuzzy feelings towards her mom, and she may continue to write about her, but she's done saying those words to her mom. And then we'll stop there.